My uncle retired from NASA last year, and we used to spend summers there when I was a little girl. I loved it down there. We would go to Disney World. We would do a lot of community-based activities. The weather was always nice. We always had so much fun. He lived in a gorgeous neighborhood. He and my aunt were the first African Americans to integrate a solidly upper-class neighborhood. The homes were picturesque. They were just so beautiful. The entire community was just very well kept up. Well, after my uncle retired, he and my aunt picked up and they moved. Luckily, they had enough money to move. The reason they moved was because there was an influx of illegal immigrants, and they've been coming, I guess, for about a decade now, and slowly but surely the area started to deteriorate. Not necessarily their neighborhood, but the surrounding area, and you could see how the entire community was starting to decay, and it was just time for them to leave. Luckily, like I said, they had enough money where they could pick up and move without it being a financial strain. Most of the people probably could, but some of them are older and they just preferred to stay there and hopefully suffer through it or reclaim the community from the illegals. Last year, my car was stolen. It was in a gated community, very nice community, gated. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I went out to get in my car, and lo and behold, it was not there. We called the police. I filed a report. I was very upset. I had a laptop in the car, a lot of things of sentimental value, and because I was traveling, a lot of personal items, new clothes, shoes galore, just things that even though I had insurance on the car, of course, I felt like a lot of the things just couldn't be replaced with money. I wanted my things back. So when my car was recovered a couple of days later, I insisted that the police officers dust it for fingerprints. They dusted the car for fingerprints, and among the things that they found inside, of course my computer wasn't in there, but they found a whole bunch of CDs, all of Spanish music. So they took those CDs and they dusted for fingerprints. But when I went to pick my car up, the police officer told me that basically dusting for fingerprints was a waste of time because the area was now infested with a lot of illegal immigrants. So even if they dusted for fingerprints, the persons more than likely were not in the system. So they were going to trace the fingerprints back to nowhere or to nobody, which was very frustrating for me. The bottom line is there is a way to come into this country and there is a way to not come into this country. The United States of America is still a land of plenty, and it can hold a lot of people. There's still a lot of opportunity here. But there's certain types of people that should not be allowed to come. If you are exiled from your own nation, if you have a criminal history, we don't need you here. We have enough problems here now that we need to work out. We don't need to get the undesirables from other people's countries. I have a lot of Hispanic American friends, and they basically feel the way that I do, feel the way that a lot of my white friends do, that the illegals coming here is a huge problem. The argument is being made that they do work that Americans don't want to do, but that's not true. Historically, a lot of the jobs that they are working, African Americans and Latino Americans who are here legally, and even people who were lower middle class and of the lower class were willing to work those jobs. The problem is people don't want to work those jobs for wages that are not living wages. You cannot support a family, you cannot support yourself off of $4, $5, $6, $7 an hour. It's an impossibility. With that said, when they come to this country and they take those non-living wages, they're really doing a disservice to the people who are here, and they're doing a disservice to themselves. Because what happens is, after they become quote-unquote Americanized, they realize that is not a living wage, and they don't want those jobs either. Hence, our country, our politicians are allowing more and more illegals to come to keep filling those positions. When the illegals come here, a lot of times they are willing to live in situations that the average American wouldn't dream of living in. I don't know a person who lives here, not even a poor American, who wants to live 12, 13, 14, 15 in a 1 or 2 bedroom with 1 bathroom. Those are deplorable living conditions. They're willing to live that way until they can save up a little bit of money, and a lot of times they do, from these jobs that offer piss poor wages. And then, of course, they try to move on and live out the American dream. But it's at the expense of the taxpayers. It's at the expense of the Americans who are already here. Somebody was saying in one of their videos, and I saw quite a few videos on illegal immigration, somebody was saying, you know, our government is starting to set aside money for them, to put them in programs to aid them, and you were questioning why our government will do this. Well, our government is doing this simply because our government wants them here. Our government wants them here to work these low-wage jobs. You know, to laymen, political outsiders, people like us, the cost of having them here seems to outweigh the benefits. But our government is privy to information that we have no knowledge about. They know what they're doing when they allow them to cross the borders. I can think of so many reasons why illegal immigration should be curtailed, but the main reason is the way that they're driving down the wages. They are willing to work these jobs, and it's making the quality a lot of times of the craftsmanship go down. It's making the wages go down for the American workers, and it's creating a need for more and more illegals to come, because like I said, once they get adjusted to the American way of life, where they get a little taste of it, they know that those are crappy jobs, and they walk away from them. They walk away. They're doing everybody a disservice. These businesses who are hiring these illegal immigrants need to be heavily penalized. I was having a conversation on the transit with a Mexican American, and she and I were discussing the illegal issue, and she was defending the amount of illegals that are coming over here. And her position is, well, you know, it was our land to begin with. We're the original natives. We're the descendants of the original natives. And, you know, many people can make that argument. Some illegals have, and some Mexican Americans have. But I say, okay, let's just say I buy that argument, that the land was once yours, okay, and it was stolen from you. Even if that's the case, the infrastructure is not yours. The American way of life has not been created by you or by Mexican Americans. America as we know it today, the way it is established, the way we are a powerhouse, excuse me, my Shih Tzu is barking. This is not something that was created by the illegals. This is a blend of different ideas from different people and different cultures from around the world who have toiled and sweat and bled to make this country great. So you can't say, oh, well, this is our land and we're reclaiming it. You didn't create the infrastructure. You didn't create America as we know it as a powerhouse. And if you want to come to this country, come, but do it the legal way. Do it the legal way. Another issue that I have, I want to touch upon this just before my time runs out. I had a friend named Thomas, and he was in the hospital for 2 weeks. His area has been besieged by illegal immigrants. He came down with what he thought was a cold. It was much worse than that. He ended up in the hospital, and his doctor told him that this was some type of Mexican flu or Mexican bug. But he said the problem is when these illegals come, they don't have the vaccines, and they have not been have the vaccinations. So they're bringing over diseases and sicknesses that we don't have, and they're making us sick. They're immune to them a lot of times because of their way of living, but we are not. It's just bad all the way around. I'm going to disable comments on this video, and I'm going to do a part 2.